You're listening to House Talk with Wally Kerr. Good morning. I'm your host, Dave McKay. Joining me every Saturday morning is Wally Kerr. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm Wally Kerr, the Starbucks man this morning. No promotion intended, but got my coffee and love being here with you on Saturday mornings. It's nice to get up early and hit it and hopefully help our listeners today with some great information regarding both buying and selling real estate.
We're having a lot of fun. Every Saturday morning, I'm learning a little bit more tidbits every Saturday, and this has become fantastic. And I'm hearing from some friends that, hey, I was listening this Saturday morning, and then they go right into, hey, I didn't know this.
And I'm getting some text in from our listeners because our listeners have learned over time they can text in and not have to talk to me personally. Yes. And I'm getting some really great questions from people. We had several texts a few weeks ago for those who didn't know if they had a homestead exemption on their property.
Yes.
Some people want to know the value of the property, and they're texting in. I'm really enjoying hearing from our listeners. And when I say hearing from, most of them are texting instead of calling. I will tell you, you are more than welcome to call me if you want to, and we can chat, and there's no obligation, but I really enjoy getting your text message.
330-3000 is the number, 330-3000. You can text during the show. What are we going to talk about today? Give me a little rundown here.
Let's open our show like we always do and kind of let our listeners know what's going on in the current marketplace and what's happening with inventories and interest rates. I'd like to talk today, for those who are thinking about selling here in 2023, is how to be the best home for sale in your own neighborhood.
Okay.
Let's move from there and have some fun today with tips to make your move easier on your pets.
Yes,
I did a little research,
that's going to be interesting.
I thought that'd be a lot of fun. We talked pretty seriously about our subject matter, but sometimes a move, Dave, for people when they are selling and buying, it can be emotional for the kids. You remember moving schools?
That was hard.
I moved some schools around as I was growing up, and it's not only hard enough to be the new kid at school, but it's also hard to be the new kid on the block. Your pets go through just as much emotion as your kids do. Moves are very stressful for dogs and cats and really any animal. So we'll have some fun today.
Good.
And do a little segment on moving pets. And then what I'd like to wrap up today was just something that became a question from one of our listeners, and so we'll address that, is, does every mortgage company have the same interest rates? And what should I be looking for? And should I only be talking to one mortgage company, or should I be talking to several? So I'm going to hit that segment and leave that in our listeners' minds because I think it's really important they listen in. Let me ask you a question, Dave. Years and years ago, I was fortunate enough to be able to help you and your wife and your family find another home and sell your current home. So when we went out and we looked at homes, did we only look at one or two homes?
No, we probably looked at close to 10 or so.
Okay. So if you look at 10 homes and you compared and did comparison shopping, why would you not go look at, and I think we did when you bought, 2 or 3 different mortgage companies? Look at their rates, their fees, their service.
Sure.
So we're going to spend a little time talking about that in our show today.
Sure. Let them compete for my business.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's just...
and they are eager to earn your business, by the way. And you need to kind of pit them against each other. And we'll talk about some strategies there.
Okay, I like it. That's going to be interesting. Let's jump right off with how's the market doing this week? What's the updates?
Okay, good. So we're coming up on another Fed decision in the month of March. And the Fed is continuing as we talk about, seems like we're talking about this every show, Dave.
Yeah.
And that is, the Fed has a lot of rhetoric. They are trying to get this economy back on track. We all know that inflation continues to be higher than what the Fed wants it to be. They are wrestling with this, and it affects the investment markets like the Dow and the NASDAQ and people's 401ks. Go up and down with changes in the economy. This has been a very volatile economy. The interest rates are not sitting at just one point. I mean, years ago, it seemed like the rates would just sit at the same rate forever. But when it's volatile like this, the interest rates are moving up and down very quickly. So at the time of the show, interest rates are in about the mid-sixes.
Sure.
Give or take, let's say, around a quarter point. Let's say they would be maybe the low sixes, maybe just above 6.5.
How often can they move? Does it move quite a bit in the course of a day? Do I need to act like that when I'm talking to somebody?
Yeah. I mean,
I never thought about that. I mean, I know it moves and it is volatile, but does that mean it's a couple of days we're going to have to lock this in? Or is it like, hey, I got a call from the broker, let's do it now. Or,
Yeah, what a great question. And so if a buyer is working with a mortgage company, ask them what they think. They're there to help you out. They don't necessarily just want you to pay a higher rate. It can be economic news. It can be the consumer price index. It can be unemployment numbers. I mean, I saw in recent weeks where unemployment was lower than it was projected to be. More people got jobs. I saw where the consumer price index showed that inflation had been higher that week. I saw a report where supply chain had fallen so far behind that people were just paying premiums for products. And it led the Fed to discussing again raising the rate. The Fed's rate, let's be real careful to define for our listeners that the Fed's rate is what the Fed charges to loan money to banks. It's called an overnight rate.
Okay.
It doesn't have a direct correlation with what interest rates for home mortgages are going to do today or tomorrow, but it definitely has influence. So when the Fed is sitting out there saying, we still think inflation is too high, so we're going to need to raise the Fed's rate, yeah, that is going to have influence on home mortgage rates.
And I hear that. I know in the very near future, I better have my decision made because the clock's ticking, because those rates could be creeping up.
We talked about this in our last show, and there is a lot of pressure for the Fed to increase rates and very little pressure for interest rates to be, or for the Fed's rate to be decreased. Those have a direct correlation on mortgage rates. Talked about in a recent show, and I think that it is still the same data. The number of existing homes for sale is dropping, and I think it's because a lot of people understand what you just said, Dave, is that there's no pressure to go down.
Yes.
They're more likely to go up. So if I can find what I want today, maybe I should go buy it before rates go up more. I think if you are in a buying process and you really would like to buy a home in the next 3 to 4 to 5 months, if you can find what you're looking for, I would encourage you to do it now, because I do believe rates are going to be no lower than they are now, and there's a really good possibility they will be higher. And just the same, if you're thinking about selling, because this is putting people into the marketplace, Dave, a little earlier this year than normal. We also talk about with our listeners that the traditional selling season kind of starts after spring break.
Yes.
Springtime. So that if you're moving the kids around, you're moving them at a good time of year, school is wrapping up. You know, moving a child in the middle of a school year, that can affect their grades.
Yep.
I know your son always had good grades, you know, going throughout school, and my kids did too. What you don't want to do is rock the boat.
Sure.
And throw them onto a new street where they have to make new friends. You throw them into a brand new school, and they don't know other kids, and so it has a direct effect on studies and peer pressure. And so the traditional selling season has typically been April, May, June, July, not really into August because school starts again. Our market with COVID has changed that over the last 2 or 3 years. It's just kind of been a hot market. This year, I didn't think would be a great year to necessarily sell a home, and I thought it was going to pull back. I was totally wrong. And that's because now that rates are going to go up, this has put buyers back into the marketplace earlier again this year. They are looking for homes. The inventory is dropping. It is a great time to sell a home because there's so much buyer demand and there are so few existing homes for sale. Here's my professional advice is if you're thinking about buying, if you can find a home you like, I would do it. If you're thinking about selling, I don't think there's any reason to wait because the market inventory is so skinny, you are very likely to put your home on the market and have far more demand than you thought you were going to.
Okay, so I've been in my home in our neighborhood for close to 7 years now.
Has it been that long? Have you been there
long.
7 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Our son is a couple of years into his college education. Pretty soon he'll be flying the coop, and maybe my wife and I decide, well, maybe we want to downsize, or maybe now we want to look into another neighborhood. I want to sell my home. How do I make it the best home in the neighborhood?
Okay. Yeah, good question. I like this subject. First, let me tell you that it can kind of be a little, let's say you build in that new section. Let's say somebody, a friend of yours builds. There's a whole lot of construction around where somebody just moves in.
Yes.
Hammers. First thing in the morning, have you noticed how contractors love to get out and start swinging hammers at 7 a.m.?
Why? Why do they do that?
Well, you know, the Oklahoma summers get kind of hot. right?
Yes.
And they
yes.
like to start their day early and get done. So a lot of contractors only work till 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon. But really the point is, it's not that anybody would not choose your home over a brand new home, because styles change. Every 5 to 7 years, think about how dramatically homes changed here locally over the last 7 or 8 years.
Yes.
These big islands, the kitchens are totally open to the living rooms. Styles change. You should never be concerned that just because you have a home that's 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years old, that you're just going to be competing with the new homes. The new homes are going to be pricier. They're not going to have as many mature trees. Perhaps you've planted a few trees and have some mature landscaping. You know, if you're going to buy a brand new home and live there only 2 or 3 or 4 years and maybe job transfer, probably not even going to see the landscaping really ever mature, right?
Yes.
So there are big advantages to homes in existing neighborhoods. So what you mentioned, Dave, is true. Most people don't sell often. They'll live in homes. The average homeowner, according to the National Association of Realtors, lives in a home 7 to 8 years now on average.
Okay.
That's extended a little bit. Used to be people sold every 5 to 6 years. That's now about every 7 to 8 years. So because people don't sell often, they need to understand that technology and marketing have changed a lot. I've done this business over 35 years now, and the technology changes and how we sell homes today. For instance, used to be when I put a home on the market, I could call one of my buyers, and what did I do, Dave? Hey, Tom, just put this home on the market. Why don't you go drive by and see what you think? No more. You know, hey, Tom, I just listed 123 ABC Street. Why don't you hop on the internet and go take a look at the pictures and see what you think? What a change. I think what we ought to talk about with homeowners is how to be the best home on the block is how to get your home ready. There's several topics we can talk about today. We'll talk about things like staging and the objectives and tours of your property and curb appeal and property preparation. So let's run through those really fast to make this interesting. You don't necessarily have to remodel. We talked in our show last week or the week before about some light updating.
Yes.
In some cases, the updating really doesn't take that much money, that much work. One of my favorites is to talk about how much of an impression the front door makes. A realtor comes to show a home. I walk up on a porch. I'm standing with my customers, and I'm working to get the key out of the lockbox so the home can be shown. The customers are standing there with me. They're looking at the front door. If the front door's finish is peeling, if it's worn, if it faces the west and there's a lot of wear, if it's got deep scratches in it, it's just a lot of times a precursor to what you're going to see on the inside. So to go in and maybe refinish that door, to sand that door, new coat of polyurethane, whatever it is, $200 or $300. Boy, that makes a big, big difference in the first impression.
That
when
curb
somebody's
appeal.
It does. So let's talk about photos. You and I started to get into, hey, Tom, now you don't have to go drive by this new listing I took.
Yes.
All you have to do is jump on the internet and take a look. So here's some pretty astounding statements. First of all, I had a female customer recently that said, when I'm looking online, Wally, I click 5 pictures, and if I don't like what I see, I move on. Now think about that a minute, how profound that is.
Yes.
You've got your home on the market, and somebody's clicking 5 times. So are the first 5 pictures the best pictures?
It better be.
So that's something we do
Yes.
and really watch closely is instead of just showing the front of the home and then the entryway and doing a methodical tour inside the property and starting at the entry, show the outside of the home, walk inside, take a picture of the front door from the inside, shoot the entryway, go straight into the study. Okay, those may not be the best attributes to the home.
Yeah, because people are taking pictures as if they would be walking through, and you're right. 3 of the first 4 have been
May not be that interesting. Let me ask you a question.
Pool, or where's
Dave,
the
there
big
you go.
island in the kitchen?
That's it.
I didn't see that till picture 16.
We don't ever place photos for any listing online unless it makes the home look like it's worth that much or more. So just what you said. Sure, you expect to see the outside of the home in picture number 1, right? There's a lot of other agents I've seen, and we can put about 35 to 50 pictures in marketing, and you suddenly get back in number 45 or 46 or 47, oh, son of a gun, there's a pool in the backyard.
Yes.
Okay, when I market a home, the outside of the home is typically pictured first. A lot of times we use drone photography so that we're showing overhead. Maybe it's got a neighborhood pool close to it. Maybe there's a park across the street. Maybe there's a beautiful view at the property, so we use drone. But the next thing we do is if it's got a pool, that pool is picture number 2. If it's got an upgraded kitchen or a remodeled kitchen, okay, that's number 3. If the master bathroom's been remodeled, that might be picture number 4. I was always told when I got into the business, would you agree with this, Dave? Women, and men too, women love kitchens and bathrooms.
Yes.
And so if you got a great home with a great kitchen and a great bathroom, think about this customer I just told you about. She clicked 5 times and she was done.
Because picture number 2, you're not saying, oh, honey, look at this entryway. Oh, my goodness, we could put a hat rack over here.
Right.
Or that the second picture pops up and it's like, they have a pool.
So what you've just hit on is you've got to catch someone's interest quickly.
Yep.
But if you're going to catch their interest, you've also got to have your home in the right condition, right?
Yes.
You want those pictures to look the best that they can look. Here's some interesting stats. This came from a study that just said, in regard to looking at pictures of a home, that the average looker would not spend more than 56 seconds per home on average. They spent 20 seconds looking at the exterior photos. They spent 8 seconds looking at the backyard. They spent 8 seconds looking at the living room, almost 8 seconds looking at the kitchen, and the same with the master bathroom and the master bedroom. Very little discussion on spare bedrooms. No discussion on the entryway, like what you just talked about, right?
Yes.
We're not really too concerned about the coat closet, and we probably assume it's got one. So if this is what the study shows, people are interested in the outside photos. How does your landscaping look?
So spruce up the outside.
Is it gussied up? Where are the trash cans? On the front picture of the home, do the trash cans show? Does the recycling bin show? Does it look like the garage door needs paint? Does the landscaping not look great? I would spend some money on the outside of the property and make sure the backyard looks good too. Maybe people have kids and the backyard is something that's very important. Maybe it's dogs and somebody wants lots of space for a dog to run in the backyard. Most people like to see a little bit of landscaping instead of just a barren backyard. Not that it won't sell. Okay. Some of these other rooms, the living room is really important. That's the gathering place, right?
Yes.
If you're going to entertain, people are going to be in your living room, probably in your kitchen, right? Those are areas you want to show off.
Yep.
So those areas are important.
Watching the game in the living room and the hot wings and chips and dip are all in the kitchen. Yes.
Right. The living room, the kitchen, the master bed and bath. Okay. They need to be tidied up, decluttered on the inside. I'll tell you one that's not hit here, and I think that's because this is a national study. Dave, what would you think somebody would want a picture of in the garage? What might be in the garage floor that somebody
That's
likes?
exactly what I was going to say, a storm shelter.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, people really appreciate them. I remember a day 30 years ago when, to me, a storm shelter was about a $500 hole in the ground. And today, I'll tell you this, Dave, a $3,000 storm shelter or a $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 safe room that's above ground as opposed to below ground, boy, that's a great amenity today. And people want those.
My brother had one put in. It's a whole room. He was telling me the whole process. It was like it was Kevlar or something. All the walls were, and it was crazy. And the door for that room was a heavier door. You could just tell it was different.
They are.
And it was like that's a safe room.
They typically have triple locks on them, triple deadbolt locks. And you know those safe rooms, Dave, for anybody that perhaps has a challenge with a bad knee, maybe they've had an injury, maybe an older person who really can't climb down into a garage floor. Boy, storm safe rooms. If you're wondering if that's a good investment, I will give you enough confidence to say, if you want to put one in, try not to block your garage. If you have a 2-car or a 3-car garage, try to find a place in your garage where it won't block putting a vehicle in. But if you've got a 3-car, still not a bad idea to put one in the front. And even if you can't get a car in, at least you've got the storage. So let's talk a little bit about staging. Most people know how to do this, and some don't. Okay. The National Association of Realtors says buyers pay, on average, between $2,800 and $15,000 more for a home that's staged on the inside. In other words, the right furniture, make it look good. Here's the classic example. What would you do if you saw a $300,000 home online and there were bean bags for the furniture in the living room. Wouldn't quite be the right furniture, right?
Sure.
Not saying you have to go buy leather furniture, but staging and decluttering and properly decorating a home on the inside, removing clutter, taking the bookshelves where nothing else will fit on the bookshelf and thinning that down, that's going to make for better pictures. And pictures today are everything, what we just talked about.
Yes.
The more people like pictures, the longer they're going to spend looking at a home. So if I were your realtor and you had 45 pictures online that I had done professionally, and you learned that people were looking at the pictures that I posted and they were stopping at number 5 or 6 and moving on, you'd be pretty frustrated. Mm-hmm. So I need to make sure you've got great pictures, that they're staged well. That doesn't mean, Dave, going in and spending $10,000 to go buy furniture and stage it up. Do you know today if someone doesn't have the right furniture, that they can actually move it out and I can digitally stage the rooms with digital computer-generated furniture. I can choose the style of the home, the decor on the inside, whether it's formal or contemporary, pick the right lamps, the right tables, the right coffee tables, the right beds, the bedspreads, the pictures on the wall. I could take a vacant home and make it look fantastic. We'll have to post some pictures online.
Yeah, I want to see
show some examples
your
of
CGI work
staging.
because I want my office to look like a space station or something on the inside of the walls. I want to see you do all that.
So we talked about the inside and how important that is, but let's also talk about property preparation comes down to recommendations, which we help our customers do that all the time, and then photo strategies. What rooms do we want to concentrate on? If the kid's bedroom is just packed with furniture, it's got all their toys, and obviously Santa loves the kids at Christmas, and so do the parents, and there's lots of toys.
But that's not going to show well.
It's not going to show real well. But if it's a 4-bedroom home, and all we really do is say, hey, it's 4 bedrooms, here's the master suite and the master bath, didn't we just now satisfy what we talked about on the number of seconds that people are spending on photos?
Yes.
I don't see people looking at spare bedrooms the way they're looking at the backyard, the kitchen, the living room, the master bed, and the master bath.
Sure.
So that kind of talks about the inside, but, curb appeal. We were talking about that a minute ago. It's so important that buyers fall in love with a home online first. Because here's what they do, Dave. They shop on the computer today, right?
Yes.
And people are eliminating the homes they don't want to see and choosing the ones they do want to see right at the computer. They make up their list, and then what do you think they do? They drive by. Let's go see if we like the neighborhood.
You mentioned before this, if I want to go look at 20 homes, I'm with Wally Kerr at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and we spend the whole day driving around Oklahoma City looking at 20 homes. Well, now I come to you and I say, hey, I really like these 6 homes that I found online, and you give me a little bit more information, and maybe I delete one of them. Well, now I have 5, and I could drive around and eliminate 2. So now you're showing me 3 homes that I could really spend some time in. And it's great time management because I already know I kind of like them anyway.
Now, whoa. But Dave, we got to back up here because a minute ago you said Wally and Dave are going to be out. You just scared a bunch of our listeners because you said we're going to be out looking at homes at 7:30 in the morning. Dave, you're going to be alone looking at homes because I'm not going to take you at 7:30. That's probably, hey, let's divert a minute. Somebody may say, if I'm going to put my home on the market, when is it going to be shown? How about that one for just a little diversion off of our topic?
Okay.
When would your home most likely be shown? Maybe weekdays and weekends. Saturday's a big showing day.
Yes.
Showings normally start, I don't see very many showings on our company's listings at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, but I see lots of people starting at 9 or 9:30.
Okay.
That's a little tough when the kids are still in bed. I don't know about getting your kids out of bed, but it takes a crowbar. It took a crowbar to get my kids out of bed at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So a home seller can specify and say no showings until afternoon, no showings between 3 and 5 because we've got a sleeping baby.
Okay.
No showings after 7 p.m. Weekdays, most showings occur between, say, 9 in the morning and then let's say till the sun sets. And if someone wondered why till the sun sets, so the showings don't typically go as late during the winter, and then they go later during the summer, right? I mean, I'll see showings go till almost 9 o'clock sometimes during the summer on a listing, if the seller will allow, or if the home is vacant. But why do you see people showing later during the summer because it's light outside. And when they go see the home, they want to see not only the inside, but the outside too. So let's bounce back to curb appeal for a minute.
Okay.
So they like it online, and then you said next they go drive by, right?
Yes.
They like what they see, so they request an appointment, right?
Yes.
So we want the outside appeal to be really, really great. Several things we do in marketing to help a home seller be the best home on the block. That's what you asked me a few minutes ago. How do I make my home the best home on the block, especially if the builder starts building homes around the corner? So first of all, builders don't have very good pictures of their homes for sale till they're finished. You ever walked inside a new home under construction? I mean, it's a mess.
Yes.
And you can't get good pictures.
Yep.
There's some things that we can do to make your home and anybody else's home that's going to put it on the market, make the home more attractive to buyers.
Okay.
So we've been doing a program called House Talk, where they drive by and there's a sign in the yard and they listen to a recorded message, which is me talking about the home, talking about the most important features, what the owner has told me they think they like the best about the home. So our House Talk sign, just like our program here, sits in the yard. The listener goes to a URL, gets a recorded message from me, but they can also look at pictures of the property sitting right on their telephone, and they don't have to call the real estate office. It gives the buyer total control to first say, I just want to look and I don't want to talk to anybody yet. And then if they like what they see, they call up and say, hey, I'm sitting in front of this home at 2516 Brentwood, and I'd like to see this home right now. What's the soonest I could get an appointment? Okay. Drone pictures. We love flying drone. We don't fly it ourselves. We subcontract the service out. Not just pictures of the home, though. Could be pictures of the pool, a great backyard, backing up to a creek or a green belt. What about a great neighborhood, let's just use for an example, like Rose Creek in Edmond? Between the fitness and the aquatic center and the golf course and then the restaurant, there's lots to sell about that neighborhood and not just about the home. So community pools and parks, those are great to do drone shots of too. And then after the pictures are taken, we have a man that works for us that has over 20,000 TikTok followers. So he goes and videos homes and puts them on TikTok with just short enough videos to keep the prospects interested, just like what Instagram is, and Facebook Reels, right?
Sure,
so the marketing's shorter to keep the prospect engaged. We do a lot of things after the still shots are done that include things like TikTok, social media, narrated tours. So I go in and stand with a cameraman. Hi, welcome today. I'm Wally Kerr. I'm here at 123 ABC Street at 8. Can't wait to show you this property, so we're going to move quickly today. Let me show you some of the best amenities and attributes to this home, starting with the pool in the backyard. Because if someone wants a home with a pool, they're going to buy a home with a pool. If they don't want a pool, they're going to pass on it.
Yes.
Okay? We're looking for the buyers that would be most interested in the property. So a narrated tour. Sometimes if a larger home, if a big home, say it's 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet in size, I'll meet the videographer there and we'll do a very quick walkthrough tour on the home for the floor plan. And we do this, Dave, because I'll have people that will call from California or Virginia or North Carolina and say, we're moving there. We like the still photos online and the home looks like what we'd want, but we need to make sure the floor plan works for us. And instead of me saying, well, I wish there was a way I could show you that, we have two ways to do that. We can either do a floor plan tour with the videographer to where we shoot the video, but then we speed it up so that people don't have to take a long time going through the home.
So you're like running through there.
Like watching a football play over and over, back and forth as to what happened. So we can do those. And then we also do what's called an interactive 360-degree tour to where once the still photos are taken, every home that we put on the market, we do a 360-degree tour on, where our photographer stands inside and photographs every room and does a 360. We take the still photos, we upload it to software, and then when you go look online, it shows the room that you're looking at, but it shows a map of the home and where you're standing and which way you're looking.
Oh, okay,
And that's
cool.
a really, really cool technology.
Sure, yeah.
So you and I talked a while ago about how much technology has changed today and how different it is from 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. It's just really all about having that technology at our disposal to really showcase a home like what you asked me up front. How do I compete in my neighborhood if my home is 10 or 15 or 20 years old? How do we showcase it and make it the best home on the block?
So
and
all
there's lots of
things
ways to do
being
that.
equal, presentation level and all that is really going to set it apart.
Has to do with what we just call marketing. It's that word marketing. And we are marketing experts, and we have had to become that good over the years. 35 years into the business, it's changed a lot. We always want to stay on the cutting edge, and I'm glad to visit with anyone by telephone, or you can text, whatever's best, anytime, 330-3000. If you're thinking about selling, would love to help you with the sale of your property and show you all these neat things that we use today to make your home the best home on the block.
You are listening to House Talk with Wally Kerr. I'm your host, Dave McKay. Now, Wally, this is something that we have not talked about yet, but there's going to be a lot of people that this pertains to. If they're selling their home or they're buying a home and they're getting ready to move and they have pets, what do you do with them? What do you do with them when you're trying to stage and sell your home? And what are you doing when you're buying a home, getting ready to move in? What do we do with our pets?
This is a fun subject today. Cindy and I are animal lovers. If you find us on Facebook, you look us up. We have horses. We have a dog. We have a couple of cats. We love, love, love animals. We love supporting the Oklahoma City Zoo. Took the family there recently. Love the animals. We give to some great causes. There's a place in Noble called Wally Kerr that will take any injured animal. We support that organization. So, yeah, this is fun to talk about pets. So moving is an important decision, but if you've got pets, it can cause a lot of stress on them. And so let's talk about that a minute. There's some advice from experts that I've studied on how to make it easier. We actually put together, because we thought our listeners would like this, a free report called How to Make a Move Easier on Your Pets. And if you'd like to have a copy of it today, we'll talk about a few items in it.
Okay.
Text me the word pets to 330-3000 and just put your address in, and I'll mail you the report. And I think you'll really like it. Put together some good information here. So real quickly, if you're moving or you're going to be moving on packing day, you remember packing day when you moved, Dave?
Yeah. Packing days.
Packing days. Yeah, it's there's a lot of there's stuff everywhere, right?
Yes.
That's very confusing to pets. It changes their environment. Pets have routines. All pets have routines.
Could stress them out.
It does. It does. So what you want to do is keep your pet's routine as close to normal as possible. So feeding times, where their bed is, maybe you take your dog out for a walk every night at 7 o'clock. Keep that routine.
Okay.
So keep the routine. Make sure you're feeding in the same spot. Make sure that bedtime's about the same time where their bedding is. Leave your pet's belongings. This is one of the big ones. Try to leave those in the same spot. It's less confusing to the pet if you leave the belongings to be the last thing that is moved. And here's something that helps too. Dave, do you ever throw a box on the ground and watch what a cat will do with an empty box?
Play with it for hours.
That's worth a $10 ticket just to watch a cat in a box, okay? Here's a recommendation from experts. Leave a couple of empty boxes on the floor for your pet to explore, because it's sort of like when I travel. Dave, my animals actually know when I'm leaving on a trip. They know what that suitcase smells like.
Oh, our dog, you could see. What's going on? Because that means they might be going to the vet.
Now, that's a big one on the list here we're going to talk about on moving day. And that one's really important, so I'm glad you brought that up. Very perceptive. Okay? So put some boxes out and let them explore so they're not scared of the boxes, because you're going to have a lot of boxes out. So let them explore. That will help during the packing process. But moving day is really big. That's the really, really stressful time for pets. So let's talk about some important things to remember. So remove your pets from your home before moving the possessions. You know how it is. The movers are there, or you're moving the refrigerator or the washer dryer or your TV. You throw the door open. That can be a recipe for disaster. A dog getting out, already being afraid for everything that's going on inside their environment. Literally, their lives are being totally changed because they see all this confusion.
Home. It's not just your home. It's their home, and all of this stuff is going on.
It's scary for both dogs and cats. They'll hide under the bed in fear. It's sort of like having a stranger come in that they don't like. And so first thing I'd say is secure your pet, get them out of the home before you start moving possessions so that there's not an accident. None of us want to see that.
Sure.
Okay? Otherwise, Experts say use an empty room. So empty a room and take them in, and you're going to leave them in the room until everything's out of the house and the home is vacant. You give them food, set up their bedding. If you've got a cat, use a litter box, put out their water dishes, and get this. I thought this was interesting. Do you know that background noise or music helps them? It soothes them because it muffles all the sounds of the moving on the inside. Isn't that surprising? So the background noise of a radio will help. Make sure your pets are tagged or chipped. Not just a collar. Make sure they've got their tags. If they are inoculated or vaccinated for rabies, boy, that's good to have on, just in case a dog or a cat got out or got lost, okay? Or have them chipped, right? The little computer chips that you can put inside their skin. When you're moving pets, you have to remember that you're excited to get them in the car and take them to a new location, but what happens if you're driving and somebody cuts you off and you slam on the brakes and your pet's not secured? They say that moving at 35 miles per hour and hitting the brakes is something like 1,500 thrust pounds, where a pet flying across a car could injure your pet or even hurt you.
Yeah.
So here's what's recommended. If you have a cat, they say use a carrier, put the cat in the back floorboard.
Okay.
So that if you hit the brakes, the carrier doesn't go flying. And then go on Amazon, get what's called a safety vest harness that will kind of hold the dog to the seat very comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay, I've seen those.
You've seen those, right? To where if you hit the brakes again, your dog is not hurt.
Sure.
And then you and I know this. Make the car comfortable. Our pets are sensitive to heat and to cold. If you go in to get a bite to eat and it's really cold outside or it's really warm, be super careful about leaving a pet on the inside. We all know that, but I don't think you can emphasize that enough, especially in Oklahoma where it gets really cold and really hot, okay? There's some other tips that you can research online if you're taking a cross-country move about things you should do, the things you need to take. I definitely recommend get some paper towels, get some wet wipes. Most pets will maybe have an accident in the car. But here's what you brought up a while ago, and this is really, really important, Dave. My cats pretty much know that when they're in the car, they're going to the vet. That is stressful.
Yes.
First time we took them, no big deal, right? But boy, when they go now, they are petrified of the vet. So here's what's recommended. Do some practice runs for moving. Put your pets in the car and drive them around, and then just take them back home to where they don't envision they're going to the vet because that causes stress.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So begin to introduce that over time. If you're going to move 3 months, 6 months from now, begin to take your pet in the car, do some little 10-minute runs, go get food, go run your errands and bring your pet back. They'll be a lot happier, especially on a long-distance move, okay? So let's go straight into moving into the new home.
Okay.
First of all, safety's foremost. These are things that sometimes we don't think about. We know that fence openings for a dog would be a problem, so check for fence openings. But here's a good one, checking for sharp objects. So now you're in a backyard. You haven't lived there before. You're really excited. It's moving day. There's a lot on your mind. Could be sharp objects in the backyard where your pet could be hurt. A couple of weeks ago, Dave, we had a roofer on that talked about inspections of roof and things that can be going wrong that you don't know about, like roof boots and roof jacks. And we had a great discussion on that. But what if the roof's been replaced and there were some roofing nails that didn't get caught by the roofing crew, and laying down in the grass, there's roofing nails that are laying there. That could puncture a paw and lead to infection. I don't even want to talk about the consequences there. Some other things to think about are harmful plants. You know, there's a lot of plants that are harmful to pets if they chew on a leaf. So I think I'd be very careful about a backyard that was maybe landscaped. Take a look at the plants.
Okay.
There are some neat apps you can load on your phone. You can actually go in and take a picture of a leaf, and it will tell you what the plant is.
And if it's harmful?
It would tell you that also.
Okay.
It would say, don't let pets ingest this plant.
Sure.
Okay. And then what about shade? You're busy with the move. You put your dog, your best friend, in the backyard. It's a hot day. Get him some cool water. Keep his water cool.
Yes.
He's going to need more water if there's no shade in the backyard, right? They recommend with dogs, the best thing you can do is just take your dog into a new backyard, but spend some time with him.
Yeah.
Sit down, because he gets his comfort from you, and he gets his comfort from me. Our dog, Shep, his whole world, we are his world. And so if I'm going to move to a new home, I'm going to go sit with Shep in the backyard, take some of his toys, throw some of his toys, and make it feel more like home to him, because he's going to be stressed for a while, right?
Yes.
Isn't it amazing how you think about a move and how stressful it is for you and me, But then you start thinking about our furry friends, and it's a really,
because they don't
big
know.
deal.
You can't convey to them that everything's going to be fine. They're just a brand new environment, and here you are.
It's a little harder with cats. Here's what experts say to do, is select a transition room when you move. And that's going to be the place you're going to put them first. Take their bedding, fix the litter box, give them water, their toys. And it's best to leave the cat in the room and not let them go outside for 1 to 2 to 3 days.
You know, a lot of times that's good for a husband too. So the wives could make the home the way they want it. And
I guess my room must be the living room because I spend a lot of nights on the couch, Dave. So
I can see that for a cat. You're right, because a cat is going to want to explore, but let it stay in the room. Let it get acclimated there.
2 to 3 days, and then open the door. And leave the door open to let the cat come and go and get used to the new environment, but still wait another 2 to 3 days before picking the location where the bedding and the water and the food are going to go, and make sure it's a permanent spot. Cats, like dogs, they like a routine. They want it to be routine, and they want to know where their things are. There's lots of things that people can do, but there's at least some great ideas for packing day and then that moving day when all the doors are open and the movers are in there and the pets are stressed out. You know, if they can't be moved, put them in a room, give them comfort, make sure they can't run outside, and then ideas for ultimately going to the new home. And I hope those will be helpful.
Also, you have some information that you can give to people just about pets, and all they have to do is text you at 330-3000.
If you will just text the word pets, I will send you a free report. I do need your address or I won't know where to send it, right? But it's just called pets. And if you'll send just a text to 330-3000 with that word, I promise that I will drop a report in the mail to you on Monday, and I hope that will help you in your potential or upcoming or pending move.
Again, this is House Talk with Wally Kerr. I'm your host, Dave McKay. Wally Kerr answers your questions. If you have them, you can text them 330-3000. Of course, go to the website, wallyhasthebuyers.com. And Wally, for our last segment here, I want to ask you, we're going to talk about mortgage companies, and this is going to get deep into the woods for me. You're going to be able to explain this probably pretty crystal clear for me and our listeners.
Okay.
But are there different types of mortgage companies? Do they offer different loans for different situations? And why do I need to comparison shop different mortgage companies to get different rates? Aren't they all going to have the same rate? Or is it, for me, John Q, buyer or seller, is a little bit of a mess? And can you explain it cleanly for me? Is that enough mud right there for you?
No, not at all. I totally get it, and I think our listeners will really like this segment.
Okay.
I do. We talked really early in the show today about you go out and you shop for a home. I see a lot of people that don't understand how important it is to shop for a mortgage. So let's answer that question straight up. The Fed sets the rate, and that's what it costs the banks to borrow money from the Fed, to get money from the Fed. Okay. But by all means, there's no regulation on what the bank can charge you for a home mortgage rate. So what are the things you think that would be important to you if you were going to go, Dave, into the marketplace and go shop for a mortgage? Do you want this to be an easy process? Do you want a great rate? Tell me what you think would be important to you, and I'll hit the ball back to you here as we do our tennis match.
For a buyer like me, I'm not going to have all the knowledge going through the home buying process that you have. So it's going to be obviously an easier process for you. It's a little scarier situation for me. So I want it to be the easiest transaction as possible, and I want to save the most money. So I think I want the lowest rate I can get, and for it to be easy.
Great. Okay, good. And that's, I think, what...
But are there any little stipulations that come along with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are. And I think it's good. Sometimes we have a lender on our show, and we have no lender today, so it's a little easier for me to talk about this without having a lender looking at me with a discerning eye, without giving me what my wife calls the stink eye, which means I'm not too sure I like what's going on here. Okay, so here's my example. Shopping on Amazon without using Prime. I'm a big Amazon guy. We kind of live on Amazon. I love Prime, and I'm willing to pay the premium because I get the free shipping.
And I like to as well. Makes it a little easier.
But have you noticed, like in the old days before Amazon, I'd go shop on eBay. You might find the item you wanted, but you look at the shipping charges and go, geez, why is the shipping so much? It's $30, but I found it a little bit higher price over here, and the shipping's only $18. So it's a little that way with mortgage companies.
Okay.
Are you going to do a conventional loan, FHA, or VA? Most lenders will offer all of those programs, and they're the same loan programs, but they can still offer different interest rates. Okay. So I think here's the things you might be looking at is you want to compare what the mortgage rate's going to be, but here's the mistake I see a lot of people make. So the mortgage company will quote you a rate. There's one big lender. I'm not going to say their name. You probably can already tell me who it is. They do a ton of TV advertising. They're nationwide, but they run these what seem like really incredible rates, but then on the back end, they add additional fees in. So lenders make what's called an origination fee. That's really what their cost is to do this for you. Let's do a quick one. Somebody's listening today. Maybe you're in the process. I call up, ring, ring. Hi, I'm Wally Kerr, and I'm looking to get a quote on some mortgage rates today. I am buying a $300,000 home, and I'm going to make the required down payment, whatever that is, whether it's conventional, FHA, or VA, and I already understand what that is. On a conventional loan, I've typically got to have at least 3 to 5% down. On an FHA loan, the statutory down payment is 3.5%. And if I'm a veteran and I've served my country, I can actually buy a home with no down payment. So when I talk to the lender, I'm going to say, can you tell me what your rates are today for a 30-year mortgage? And can you tell me what your origination fee is? And right there, I'm asking him, how much is it for you to do the loan for me? What's my interest rate going to be today on a 30-year mortgage? By the way, Dave, 15-year mortgages, the mortgage rate is typically about a 0.3% savings.
Okay.
So let's make that really easy. 3/8 is 0.375. So if one lender today said our rates are 6, and another one said 6 3/8, that's 6.375. The first question I'd have is, well, I like the 6%. What are the other fees that are involved? So I need to find out the origination fee and ask if there are any other fees.
Okay.
So I'd call 3 mortgage companies if I were you. For our team, for our real estate company, we have 3 what we call preferred lenders. Preferred lenders, we have no ownership in these companies. Okay. All we do is we want mortgage companies that will provide the best possible experience. You ever been in one of those deals where the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing?
Yes.
I've dealt with mortgage companies over the years where one person calls for a piece of documentation and the borrower sends it in. Maybe it's a pay stub. And then 6 days later, somebody calls from the same mortgage company and says, hey, we need a pay stub. And the borrower thinks, wait a minute. I submitted that 6 days ago. This is not really good service. It seems like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
That would make me nervous.
Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Once you've submitted the information, you expect the lender to be able to give you the loan with the documentation you've provided. They also, a borrower expects the lender to ask for that promptly up front. I've had lenders over the years who ask for information 5 and 6 times. People get to a week before closing and the lender says, oh, by the way, we also need information on this. And the borrower says, wait a minute, why didn't you just ask me for all of this up front so that this could be a smooth and easy process? So we've identified 3 mortgage companies we really like who give great service. Their fees are lower and their interest rates are very, very good. And that's what our customers want from us. They want to know where's the best place to go get a mortgage.
Sure.
So they have an origination fee. Your credit score can affect your interest rate, Dave. You probably knew that.
Yes.
Whether you're buying home insurance today or getting a mortgage, your credit score directly impacts what rate you're going to get quoted. Okay, so if you're talking to a lender, be sure and tell them and say, I already know what my credit score is. I'm about a 680 or I'm a 715. Okay, if you got a 720 or better, you typically get even a lot better rates. So communication, again, is a common complaint, poor communication on the mortgage company's part. One of the things I'll ask is, where's your underwriting done? So there's an Edmond lender that we have used a lot in the past, and the underwriter is located right inside the Edmond office. So I had a client once who needed a verification of how much his child support was.
Okay.
He needed to take some checks that were canceled through his bank that he paid his ex-wife for child support. He walked into the Edmond office, handed them to the loan originator that was doing the loan, and the loan originator walked them in and put them on the underwriter's desk. How different is that from some metro mortgage company where the underwriting's done in California? So
yes,
instead
absolutely.
of getting a response in 2 or 3 or 4 days with a local underwriter, you get a response in a day or a few hours.
Sure.
So it might be nice to know where the underwriting's done. So you need a good balance of experience with a mortgage person. The longer they've been in the business, the more experience they have, and they probably know the right questions to ask, and they get used to working with a specific underwriter, and they can get the approvals done quicker.
Okay.
So again, knowing where the underwriting's done. Some mortgage companies, have you ever had, you get this notice in the mail, Dave, and it says, MidFirst is, we're your lender, and we want to let you know that we are selling your servicing to SunTrust.
Yes. Should that be cause for concern?
It could. They
Okay.
can't change your payment. That's what's good. They can't change the terms of your loan. Your escrow account's typically going to stay the same. But sometimes they're just not as good on servicing. There are some local mortgage companies that will actually, what we do is called keep the paper. Okay, they write the mortgage and they keep the paper and the servicing, and that's their general practice. I would much rather choose my lender and think they were going to keep the paper instead of just doing the loan and then going and selling my loan to somebody else.
Sure.
So that might be into your scheme of who you're going to choose and why you should shop. And I just like local lenders. I'll finish with this. I like using a local lender where you can actually go in and see them in the office. Okay, that's just a benefit to be able to walk in as opposed to talking to someone on a 1-800 call where you just feel like
Yes.
you're a number in the system, and being able to have a personal relationship. A lot of folks will sell 1 or 2 or 3 homes during their lifetime. And it's nice to have somebody that you have a great experience with, that you would go back and do business with again.
Mine will send me emails from time to time just with updates on things, and they're located just off of Memorial,
Right.
so I could go right over there. So that's great. The service has been fine, and I could just go down the street if I wanted to.
You know, nothing
to
beats great service and a great relationship. And I think people really appreciate that today and in our society. So there are some great lenders. If you need some information on who we like and prefer to use, feel free to shoot me a text and say, hey, Wally.
330-3000.
That's our text number. And you're always welcome to call and chat if you prefer. But if you just prefer just to send a text, I'm absolutely happy to answer you real timely. Give me same day. We wrap up our show here early
Sure.
in the mornings. Typically got a few things I got to tend to immediately after our show, but always happy to help with the information that I can give you. And if you need help buying a home or you need help selling a home, lean on me for our guaranteed home sale program. Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy your home for cash. And it's always at a price that we sit down and agree to up front, so you know exactly how long it should take to sell your home, how much you'll walk away with when all is said and done, and how much it should sell for. And we can answer those questions, help you in the selling process and the buying process, whichever way you're headed in this economy.
Great. You know, this was a good show this morning because I love the segment on pets because I love pets, and it was very informative. And to prop you up just a little bit, you've been doing this for over 35 years. So even when you get back to, you said about the 3 or 4 preferred lenders, well, you've been doing this for 35 years plus. So you know who's going to offer the best service, the best rates and everything. So if they want to get that information, that's great. Go to you, and you don't have any skin in the game of that. These are just folks that you work with,
these are people
and
that
they
we
do
like.
a good job, and you recommend them. So
whether it's home inspectors, whether it's lenders, whether it's termite people, we have a lot of connections. I do think that there is a big difference in experience. A lot of people have gotten into the real estate business over the last few years, and I feel like we have a lot that we can offer our customers, and I'm happy to be of service.
fantastic. This is House Talk with Wally Kerr, your home sold guaranteed realty Kerr team. If you just got in the last minutes of this show, you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, many other platforms. Search Wally Kerr. You can check out Wally's YouTube channel as well. Past shows are going to be there as well. And of course, if anything fails and you want to find out information, just shoot him a text at 405-330-3000. This has been House Talk with Wally Kerr on KOKC.